We can go right into the Recreation, Public Parks and Buildings Committee meeting starting at 9:20 p.m. Council President Jones, committee members Heeman and Kelly, Councilman Glassburn, Councilman Schuman, Councilman Lemper, Councilwoman Williamson, the mayor, the finance director is still here, HR director, planning director, the clerk of council, and guests. And we're here to discuss 2020-108, a resolution to accept the donation of patio pavers and furniture from the mayor, Kevin M. Kennedy, for use by the city of North Olmsted. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I donated the patio outside of my office, and Mike Garode, law director, wrote up the legislation and included the patio furniture, which I'm fine to donate to. The patio furniture happens to match very well with the building. So I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay, Mayor, I got a question. Is why are you coming to council now after it's already been put in?
Because you have to. I mean, you have to. If you're donating something over, I believe, $1,000, you have to go through council.
Okay, you maybe shouldn't have done that before you put it in.
Yeah, I've donated. Your council table that you sit on, I donated before legislation was raised. There's always donations to the city. People donate it, and then if it's over $1,000, you have to accept it through legislation.
Okay, were there any city resources used for this?
Well, they had to put stones down. There's some sort of pipe out there. I don't know whether it's some sort of sewer pipe, but I didn't want to mess with that. So the service department got it ready for the work that needed to be done.
Okay. I can open this up to committee. Council President Jones, did you have a question or statement you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to indicate that that the mayor has been mayor for 10 years, and it's disappointing that he didn't follow the proper protocol donating the patio. Usually these things do come before council first, as the mayor indicated, especially if the fair market value is over $1,000. And it's just disappointing to me that he failed to do so before moving forward with the work for the patio to go in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council President Jones. Ms. Heeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to reiterate that because I donated a vest to a dog and had to wait several weeks because people couldn't kind of figure out for me how to do that. And all I really wanted to do was provide a bulletproof vest for our canine. So yeah, I do think that there is protocol, obviously, that needs to be adhered to, particularly when city services are being used in part for that. Not that they were expensive, but still, our employees were doing something other than their city work. And I guess my question is, is this for employee use? Like, what's the point? What do they get to take their breaks and lunches out there? What do they do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could. Yeah, it's been functioning for maybe a month now or so, and it's gotten a ton of use. If residents need to come up, it's a place that they don't have to come into the building, can meet with a director or the mayor. It's also a place where people have gone out there and had lunch or a lunch meeting. So we don't really have a calendar for it. Just, it's for anyone's use that wishes to use it.
Was that it, Ms. Heeman? Okay, I'll open it up to council. Mr. Glassburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my first question would be is why was this location picked?
Probably because it's right outside my office. I don't, it's something I walk by all the time. If I'm going to donate it, it's going to be right there. I don't know. Where else would you want me to pick? Is there?
I think part of the issue here is this really a city, is this something for the city or is this something else? And it's an odd location to have chosen if this was intended for the benefit of the employees of the city. I would not think that the mayor's office would be where you would want right outside, want employees to congregate for recreational or to take a break. It's a very odd location to have picked.
Mr. Chairman, where would you have picked?
I'm not sure I would have chosen to do this at all, quite frankly. And I think that's part of the question and concern about this as well. What if a member of council or a resident for that matter wants to just come up to City Hall and make an alteration and donate it, that just happens now? I mean, what is our process for determining alterations to city facilities?
Right, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I donated the council table to which you guys sit on. I donated it, and then they did legislation because it was worth more than that. At that point in time, the council was thrilled about my donation, but it's a different council, granted.
Was this submitted to anybody, the city building department? What is the process for determining alterations to this building or other buildings that are in the city's portfolio?
Well, it was merely a barren space that I put pavers down and made it look nice, and it matches the building, and then put a table out there so that people could use it.
Mr. Chair, I have additional questions, but I'll yield to those that had their hand up.
Okay, Mr. Schuman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had an opportunity to use this for a meeting. Actually, City Hall, if you haven't been up there, is under construction. It's impossible to have a meeting up there and not put yourself in danger. I think this was an excellent idea, an excellent use of minimal resources. And I think what the mayor did was, I drive by the City Hall all the time. I see people using it. These are employees and sometimes meeting with members of the public. Right now, it was a great idea to do this. I have no problem with it. I thank you for doing it, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, Mr. Schubert.
I actually saw part of it being installed one weekend when I went to go up to City Hall. I didn't know that's what it was at the time, and it looked like a private contractor that was putting it in. At least there was a truck there that had some writing on the side of it. Fella in a bright yellow shirt. I'm not sure who he was, but that's the spot he was working. He told me I couldn't come in that door at the time. So that was, I believe, in August, possibly. Ms. Heeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor, I think the distinction here, just to point it out to you, because you seem to not be cognizant of it, it's not a table. It's not something that, if it doesn't fit in the room anymore, we move it somewhere else or you take it back home. This is an alteration to a city building that you didn't tell anybody about, and you just took it upon yourself to do that. And while Mr. Schuman thinks it's a great idea, I'm not saying it isn't an attractive thing. I'm just saying that, you know, simply you altered a city building and decided that you unilaterally, without question, could do that and use our employees in part to do that, and or use another private contractor to do that. And I believe if any of us had done anything like that, our heads would be rolling right now. So I guess that's the distinction. It's you appreciate the donation. Donations are always great. Sadly, I got yelled at over my vest donation. But the bottom line here is that it's a city building. It's not your building. It's owned by the city. So I think that that's the point that's trying to be made here. Thank you.
Are there any more questions, comments from council at this point? Mr. Glassburn?
Yes, I echo Councilwoman Heeman's frustration and concern. I don't think whether it be a council member, an employee, or a resident of this city, or anyone for that matter, if they came up and started messing around with sidewalks or altering the building, or you know, if the employees decided that they should have a basketball hoop out in the parking lot for recreation during their breaks, you know, we would say no. That's not your role to make that decision unilaterally. So I don't think it's appropriate as a process issue because of the location. I'm skeptical that it's beneficial to our employees because, as I said, I don't think the best place to have our employees congregating for health during the COVID or after COVID is right in front of or outside of the mayor's office. I mean, I just don't see that as a logical place. So if it's not there for the employees, why is it there? And at the very least, it creates a bad appearance. And using city employees to do part of the work is not good. You know, we don't know anything about this contractor or if the contractor charged a fair market value for the work. You know, as we went through with some of these previous meetings, whether it's the chicken coops or other things, our city is pretty stringent on residents about, you know, whether you put a shed or a garage up or you make alterations to your own property, we cite people when they don't follow the rules. You know, I've had residents who have been ordered to tear down garages and rebuild them who had no intention of even using that garage. I've had residents with air conditioners that pre-existed on the side of their homes, and then when they tried to replace that unit in the exact same location, were ordered to put that unit behind the building and do new ductwork through their whole house. And at this time, for any of us, much less the mayor, to be using city resources to make cosmetic alterations for arguably no benefit to anybody is really hard to stomach and not something I could justify to my residents. And whether part of it's donated or not, there's a lot of problems here. And I know you think this is funny.
First of all,
trust matters.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I donated all the material and all the labor. The only thing the service department did was grade it because I didn't want to mess with the pipe down there, and that's it. I mean, so you don't have to accept a donation if you don't want to, if it's that big of a deal.
Who was the private contractor that put it in?
The private contractor is a employee who has a private company, Drew, and he did it on a weekend. And I paid him to do it.
Okay, so you hired an off-duty service department employee?
Correct.
Is that, I'm just trying to wrap my head about this. He was an off-duty service department employee that you hired to do the job, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Glassburn?
I guess
Is your hand up or are you just,
I'm flabbergasted, Mr. Chair. I just don't accept that, you know, this is just business as usual. As Councilwoman Heeman stated, she had to go through the rigmarole to donate the vest for Mach. You know, the mayor has been involved with the city organization for well over a decade. He's a former council member. That he didn't know this process, I don't think is the answer for why this didn't come to council. I think the answer is it was known or suspected that we would frown upon this because it doesn't benefit the employees and creates a, albeit minor, but a long-term maintenance issue that we add on to City Hall. And, you know, if that's purposeful evasion, that's a whole nother issue here. So I don't think we should accept this, quite frankly. I think it should be restored to the way it was, just as if they vandalize the property, and take this as a lesson that none of us is above the law. None of us is above following the rules. And none of us should try to personally benefit from the city, especially during this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
there's a caller that's listed as D on the computer that would like to speak. Go ahead, D.
I was the previous. Can you hear me?
Couldn't to this point right here. Could you please identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Dan. I live at 5560 Pheasants Walk, North Homestead. I was previous service director for the city. During the remaking of the Freedom City Hall,
I think we lost you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Sort of.
All right. When we redid the Freedom City
Go
Hall,
ahead.
we had to put in the new flower bed out front. Mr. Drew Brown was the city employee that did all that work. We had to take all the dirt out because none of the plants that were in there were functioning or growing. The area where this patio sits now is in a shaded part of the city hall where it doesn't get any sun. And it used to be just a dirt mound with a bunch of weeds on it. We took it and leveled it down. Eventually, in order to complete that project, we would have probably just made it level with some gravel in there. So the city would have paid to have that fixed anyhow to complete the project. And the mayor came forward and said that he would like to have a patio, and we were going to put a patio in, and he said he would end up paying for it. So this isn't something that, if we take it back to the way it was, it's going to be a dirt mound with nothing on it. So the city would have to come back and fix it anyhow. So it wasn't like it saved money for the city actually, because we would have had to pay for the entire restoration of that area to fix it up. And then the area also had some old fencing that was there that needed to be replaced, and the city didn't have to do that at expense. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glauner. At this point, I would recommend to go to full council for approval of this, and I ask for a second. Can't hear you.
Second.
Okay. Okay. That will end this Recreation Public Park and Building meeting
Gotta vote.
at 9:40 p.m.
Mr. Shelley? Mr. Shelley, you still need to have the vote on it.
Yep, I'm sorry. Committee vote, yes, yay or nay? I vote yay. No? Okay. So clerk, we have a yay and we have a nay.
Mr. Kelly,
Sorry?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I would like to actually see those documents and invoices and payments and things before it goes further. So I don't know if it's too late.
Well, clerk, we had a yay and a nay, so we didn't have a majority anyhow, so can I at this
Technically,
point recommend that we hold it in committee?
well, the way the vote would work is that you would voted to send it to council with no recommendation. If you guys want to change that vote and you want to take a vote to hold in committee, you could do that, I believe.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay, then I'd like a vote in committee, or I make a motion to hold it in.
May I comment first?
Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
reason, Mr. Chair, that I'd like to see all of those things is because it was an off-duty employee doing work for this project. So that maybe, puts that employee in an unfortunate, but perhaps not good position. That's all. Because I think that, that relationship is, problematic perhaps, and we don't want to jeopardize the employee. So I'd like to see the documents, the cost, the payment, and all of those things before we move forward. But that's the reason, so that everybody knows what my reason is. Had it not been an
Okay,
employee,
then
I'd look at it the same way. So go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion to hold it in committee then and ask for a second. All right, and then we'll vote to, and I vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then Mayor, could we get the documents that she's asking for?
Yeah. Yes, I will get those over to you as early as tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we'll end the meeting at 9:43. It's been a long night, folks.